another little grass seed harrow and plant the grass seed behind it underneath, and so the barley came up, grass then grew, the barley would then be combined off, and then hopefully it would have a nice sward of grass seed growing underneath it. That works well in certain seasons, and you get a wet harvest and then you're running around trying to get your baler contractor to come in and clear all the bales up without creating a rut and all that sort of stuff, and it was getting a little bit of headaches. And so we sort of said, well, is there another way? Obviously when you're running 2 drills over the whole lot, you're rolling it, you then can't push your spring barley. So sometimes we had good crops, sometimes we had bad crops, so we're actually sometimes in a negative net margin for the barley, because we couldn't put any too much fertiliser on it, we couldn't use herbicides, so there's a lot of sort of hands were tied for a lot of it just to establish the grass. So then we said, well, now we've got the direct drill, can we do it a different way? Can we use it in a different way? So we then said, right, well, we want to really push a crop to make money. So we said, well, spring barley, we've had hit and miss historically in the actual margins of actually making money with spring barley. I just haven't got it's one of those crops that you love or hate for me, and at the moment I was hating it. I might be going back next year to love it for a little while. But we tried a hybrid barley crop. So hybrid barley came on, hoping that a nice thick hybrid barley crop. We actually ploughed the whole lot over, got our next door neighbour in to drill it with his 8-metre Verdostat, because his drill would do it damn sight quicker and better than my 2 drills, because I wanted to have a level field for my grass. So the Verdostat came in, drilled the hybrid barley, massive brilliant crop of hybrid barley last year, did about 9.6 tonne, was a beautiful picture. Then got all the bales off with no trouble at all, and we were thinking, all right, well, we can just get in here and direct drill. So then we got left it, didn't do any stubble management, just thought all the sunshine last year, we'll get more sunlight burning the blackgrass seeds if there's any at the bottom, and the hybrid barley would have smothered all the blackgrass out, so we'll have a nice clean finish. And so then we came back and direct drilled the grass in mid-September, and then started our normal agronomy for the grass. Then the first thing that we noticed was behind the combine, where the straw and the chaff was sort of left. You can see that the establishment was poorer for the grass, and so you can see that every single combine mark is actually pretty evident now. And we had a flush of volunteers, that real dry period after harvest. Those volunteers were just absorbing all the moisture. Then we burned it off with Roundup, and then obviously put the grass in straight behind it, and the grass just really struggled, so there's no moisture, all that moisture had been drawn out. So those little seedlings came up and then died because there wasn't enough moisture holding it through the period that we wanted it. So that's why they're a little bit lined. So it's a lesson learned for us, that we might then have to take our volunteers out earlier, or do some actual stubble management, or a scratch cultivation, just to create a bit of till for the actual grass to really get going on. And then we've actually had one of the worst years for black grass in the grass, and so there's lots of patches which have been sprayed out, and if you go, we'll go around the top and you'll see a massive chunk that's been sprayed out. In Herbert grass seeds, to get high voluntary grade grass seed into the market, we can only have something like, I think it's 3 black grass seeds in a kilogram sample, and any rogue seeds, you're basically up for the high jump. We dress all the grass seed up ourselves, so we have to be very careful of trying to get as much out as possible, but not wasting good seed going over the sieve. So John does a cracking job for us through the winter of trying to get everything as much through as possible. The grass for us in the rotation is the key, because it's giving us a green crop all year round once it's in for 2 years. So you've always got that green. The brown hares love it, the grey partridges love it. We're not too bothered about the hybrid barley volunteers that have come. It looks untidy, but a barley seed doesn't get mixed up on the dresser with the grass seed, and it actually keeps the dresser clean as it bounces along, so that shouldn't be a problem. We combine the grass seed with a Shelburne Reynolds stripper header. that revolutionised our grass seed production, because historically we had two little combines with sort of 22 foot cuts with tiny little things, and we were direct cutting in. It took basically 2 weeks to do 80 hectares. The stripper header gave us the ability that we could wait for optimum conditions and really go at pushing it. It just basically acts as a giant hoover. So you've got the rotor going round. It's basically got fingers which is basically picking it off the ground, so you can literally pick a piece of paper up off the concrete floor if you wanted to, because it sucks it, creates a vacuum, strips the seed off and brings it through the combine. The combine's then running at very low straw inside, so you get the option so you can drop your wind right down and get as much not blackgrass seed, ryegrass seed into your tank, and then it goes onto the floor, gets blown down from, it comes in at about 35% moisture, blows it down to under 15%. We've got stirrers and rakes that we use to try and sort of keep it moved so it doesn't go solid on the floor. But the grass seed for us has been the real key to our full rotation for soil management, organic matter. Our organic matters across the farm range from about 4.5 up to about 7, and I think that's just long-term grass lays in the middle of the cropping rotation. So that's really key. And I think a lot of people ask, oh, it would be nice, would you do a bit more grass? Yeah, well, we do, but the contracts are the hardest thing to get hold of, and then you've got to have the storage facility and the infrastructure to actually deal with the grass. And so my grandfather was the one who really behind it, and so he's put up the sheds that have really made that we can sustain this sort of grass output. I sort of wish I could do a little bit more sort of understanding with it. There's a lot of things that sort of get done that you sort of go, is that right? How, like growth stages on grass, it's very hard to sort of get right. They pluck heading dates out of the air and they say, well, you've got 10 days either side of that, you've got to put a fungicide on, and then you've got to do a bit of plant growth regulator. So it's very hard to sort of get that attention to detail. So hopefully in 4 years' time, when this strategic farm bandwagon moves down the road to someone else, then my grass attention to detail might come back. But it's trying to keep everything right. But black grass, if you see it, rogue it, we're putting it out, spot spraying it, hitting the first year hard because we don't want it to multiply into the second year, so using our break crops as doing as much as we possibly can to get any seed return out, and so we try and do everything. Once it comes out of grass, we tried direct drilling into it. That was in the winter of 2015 going into 16, and it was one of the real wet, well, the last wet one I can remember, and we tried to direct drill it. Tried to direct with a disc drill, and it basically the root zone is like basically turf, and so we opened the zip and then tried to shut it with all that root mass, and it just would not shut, and so you just push fluffy dead grass on top, but the actual slot was really bad, so we had problems with slugs in the disc drill. And then we tried it with the DTS, but we had to get the DTS set so that you would actually go underneath the grass root zone to create a turf top, and then it just laid it down in big heaps of turf, and then the grass, the wheat that tried to come through was really struggling because there was just all this decay and sort of sour zone that was just basically trying to not do what the plant wanted, so it came up completely stressed and it wasn't ideal, and then it became slug highway for most of January and February. So we haven't been brave enough to direct drill it since, so we disc it up and then been either putting it in with the disc drill, or now it's just a combination because it's actually cheaper for me to run just one big rip up with the SL, and then we left it green up, spray off Roundup, and then use the combination unit, and that works out cheaper than then trying to level it up and then using the disc drill on it. So it's all about finance. That's why the combination unit is quite a nice thing to have in the back of the shed.
Do you spray it off to even up the ripening before harvest, or just harvest it green?
Straight harvest it green, so that'll flop over. That's going to flower hopefully in sort of 6 to 10 days. It's just had a plant growth regulator to try and make it stand up as for flowering, and so then once that's flowered, then hopefully then the weight will take it over. if it stands up too long in the wind, it will all wave and seed will shed. We've had problems, we've had heavy rainstorms that shed ripe crops, so there is a little bit of risk, but people have tried zip pod and things like that to try and stick the seed onto the plant, but sometimes it's hit and miss. But normally the stripper header now, what took us sort of 14 days is taking us 4 days with a stripper header, so it's really sped the whole job up. And then we make hay, traditional disc mower, tether it, dry it over the whole field, then wrap it up into small idiot blocks.
You don't have any problems with volunteer ryegrass in your following crops with no resistant ryegrass?
No, if you leave it long enough, you get a flush straight up behind the cultivator, and then a robust pre-em.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, we haven't had problems with ryegrass at all. I know some people on the trailer probably have got wild ryegrass problems, but for some reason we haven't had any sort of rollover of problems with ryegrass.